Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca from devourdinner.com. Welcome to my kitchen and happy Sunday everybody. I'm excited to be here. I hope you are too. We're going to make a warm and cozy comfort soup today in the Instant Pot. It's cheddar broccoli soup and it's one of my favorites. So I hope you'll stick around and take some notes so that you can make this recipe at home too. All right, as we start, let's just make sure that our technology is working perfectly and that we're connected. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. So let me just check and make sure that we are indeed live in both of those locations. Oh, good. We are live on YouTube and I know we're live on Facebook as well. So when you join in, please say hello. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if you can hear me okay, because we don't want to get started unless everybody can hear and see and all of the good things. Hi, Kathy. Kathy says, hi from 48 degrees in Florida. You sound great. Hey, 48 degrees in Florida? That is a little chilly for Florida. It's a lot chilly for Florida. I haven't been outside today. We're about 37 degrees here today. It has been warm, warm, warm the last 48 hours in Eastern Idaho. I don't know if you saw my reel I did yesterday on my walking challenge that I'm doing. I was outside in shorts and it was glorious. It was so good. Hi Sigrid, how are you? You're cold as well. There's a lot of cold places going on. Just a lot. All right, I'm gonna drop a link to the recipe that we're gonna work on today. You'll see that link in the comments. You can just go ahead and click on that link and you can open it up in a new tab so that you can follow along with the recipe right along with me as I'm getting ready to do things. I currently have my Instant Pot set to the saute mode. So it is heating up right now, which means that bottom element is getting warm because we're going to saute some onions with some garlic and a little bit of butter. You could, of course, use some olive oil if you prefer. That's fine as well. So we're waiting for that to get hot. Hi, Linda. Linda says, I finally made it back. 24 degrees in Ohio. Brr. Hey, Robin, how are you? Robin says, I'm cooking along with you dairy-free. Okay, I love that. In fact, Robin, I want to hear what you're doing or what you're substituting to make it dairy-free, or if you're just not putting the dairy in. I'm curious about that. Elaine says, it was down to 37 in the Land O'Lakes, Florida. Robin says it's 63. It has just been cold. Michelle, 62 in Brentwood. Love it. Okay, let's get started. So like I said, we're heating up this bottom element. We're gonna put a little bit of butter in with some diced onions. I've got about a half of a diced onion that I'm gonna use today. And we're gonna saute that up until the onions start to sweat a little bit, release some of those juices, and start to turn a little bit translucent. Now, this step is optional. You've heard me say this before. I like to do it because I like the flavor it gives by sauteing these vegetables in advance. It helps break them down, open their flavors up so that more of those flavors go into the recipe while it's under pressure. But keep in mind, those onions are going to get cooked under pressure regardless, and they're going to be very translucent. I just like to cook them first. So if you want to not do this step, that's okay too. All right, the front panel is reading hot. So we're gonna go ahead and put some butter in. Let's go top down so you can see what I'm up to. We wanna get that butter melted and we're gonna add in those onions. And we're just gonna let it do its thing. So we'll just kind of let it do its thing. Let's see. Hey, Charles, how are you? Charles says they're joining in from freezing Illinois. Hi, Chris. How are you doing? So Robin, who is doing this recipe right along with me, is doing it dairy-free. So she is substituting coconut cream in place of the heavy cream or the half and half, and dairy-free shredded cheddar cheese. That's fantastic. I love it. All right, so we're just sauteing up these onions. Now, today my onions are a little on the large side, but you could chop these and make them smaller. Another tip that I've talked about before, sometimes people don't like the texture of onions, but they like the flavor. If you grate an onion using like a cheese grater, it breaks the onion down into small, teeny tiny bits. What that does is it allows you to have onion in your recipe. You get the flavor, you get all the goodness of the onion, but you're never going to notice the texture. So that's a trick that I've done for my kids for years. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of garlic. And then I'm going to add some matchstick carrots. So these matchstick carrots I have rough chopped, which basically means I've just kind of made them a little bit smaller. We're just gonna kind of cook these all up. I love the flavor of sauteing vegetables, or the smell, the aroma. It is just beautiful. Hi, Mary. So Mary says, just hopped on, better than bouillon, has a sauteed onion flavor. You're right. I totally forgot about that. That's a great tidbit. Okay, so now what we've done is we've just sauteed these onions a little bit so that they can break down. We're not cooking them until they're translucent. We're just allowing them to sweat a little bit. I've added some minced garlic along with those matchstick carrots, and we're just letting the Instant Pot kind of do its thing. All right? Now, at this point, if you want to add ham cubes to this soup, completely optional, but now is the time to do that. I am using kind of a large ham cube today. Ideally, you want the smaller ones. The smaller ones, I like the smaller ones better. But I'm using the big ones today, and I didn't take the time to cut this down further. But I want to throw these in here as well. Some of the juices from the ham will mix in with everything. What I do, at this point, the ham adds a little bit more liquid into the Instant Pot. So you notice that I'm going around the edges and I'm scraping. That's because the onions with the butter started to caramelize and started to stick a little bit. Well, we don't want any of that residue around the bottom of the liner, or we could get a burn notice. I don't think I've ever had a burn notice in all the years I've been doing these Facebook Lives. Knock on wood, let's hope we don't have one today. But if you need to deglaze the bottom of your pressure cooker, it's really easy to do. You're gonna use a little bit of your thin liquid and you're gonna pour it in the bottom of the liner. You're gonna get a lot of steam when that happens, but you're going to be able to scrape and lift things up. So let me just show you. I'm gonna use some of the broth. And by adding some of that liquid with that heat, we can scrape the bottom all the way around and lift up anything that might be stuck. And I find it's usually around the edges more than anything else. You can use the bottom of a wooden spoon. I am using a silicone spatula. And we're gonna turn that off, because we don't need that heat anymore from the bottom. All right, how are we doing? Is everyone still following along? Michelle, if you get a burn notice, I will answer that. Let me finish getting everything in. That is a great question. Okay, so for the rest of the ingredients, we need broccoli, of course. Now I have cut these up into little florets. I'm doing about 4 cups. I'm not even sure how you measure broccoli. I just grabbed bunches and left it at that. We're also gonna do about a teaspoon of dry mustard, which we're just gonna add in here. And I'm gonna add in a little bit of pepper. I'm not gonna add salt at this time because the broth that I'm using does have salt in it, or sodium. And so I'm gonna wait, and at the end I'm gonna taste it and see what I think. Now I am doing 2 cans of chicken broth. 2 cans is just shy of the 4 cups that the recipe is calling for. So you can add additional water to balance that out instead of opening up a 3rd can. Or today, I didn't even bring any extra water over, so we're just gonna leave it as is. We have plenty of thin liquid to let the pressure cooker do its thing. And I'm just kind of tucking the broccoli down a little bit. There we go. Okay. So close your lid, close the pressure valve, and we're gonna set the pressure cooker to 3 minutes. It doesn't take long to cook all of this up. So adjust with the plus or minus keys, going up and down until it reads 3. And then in just a moment, we're gonna hear a beep. That beep, right there, that beep is letting us know that the pressure cooker has accepted those readings and it's going to start pressuring up. So that bottom element is gonna come back on. It is going to start bringing that liquid, that chicken broth, to a boil. When it starts boiling, it's going to create steam. Steam, of course, creates pressure, and pressure will seal off the back of the pressure cooker. At that point, when all of that is done, then this front panel is going to change from on to 3. And then it will count down in numbers until it reaches 0. When it reaches 0, then it'll beep at us again, letting us know that the cooking cycle has completed and it's now in what's called a natural pressure release, which means there's no more heat at the bottom, but the pressure is slowly releasing. Now, because this is soup and because we've got this about halfway full, we're going to allow a 5-minute natural pressure release. We want to get some of that pressure out of there before we release the remaining pressure, because a lot of times soup or things with the thin liquid tend to spit out the top. We don't want to deal with that. So we're going to let it naturally release for 5 minutes before we open it up, the pressure valve, and release the remaining pressure. That simple, okay? At which point we will open things up. We're going to add in some sharp cheddar cheese along with, I'm going to use half and half today. You can use heavy whipping cream. You can use evaporated milk. And if you're going dairy-free, like Robin is, you can use some coconut milk in there as well. There's lots of different options of things you can add into this recipe. And that's the recipe. So simple. And today, where it's as cold as it is all over the US, I just wanted some good comfort food. That's what I wanted. All right, let's see. I'm going to scroll back up here so I don't miss anybody. Hi, Jane, how are you? Jane popped on from Massachusetts. Doreen is from Erie. Robin said, I had the burn notice once. It was when I used a recipe that was not tried and true. Oh, shoot. Mary says, I bought onions the other night for ham and beans before I remembered that I had sauteed onion flavor. Sigrid said, did you double check your ring that it was seated properly? The answer is yes. I actually did that before we went live. So for those of you at home asking, what is she talking about? All right, inside of your lid, and I don't have an extra lid here to show you, so just visualize with me. Inside of the lid, there is that silicone ring that goes all the way around the inside. Well, that ring comes out And if you didn't know that, we need to talk, because you need to pull that out and you need to clean it after every use. Food and debris and bacteria will grow underneath that ring, and that could make you sick. So that ring comes out, you can wash it with hot soapy water, you can put it in your dishwasher, and then you have to put it back on. It's not hard to do, because there is a metal band that goes all the way around the inside, and you just tuck it behind it. And it seats in there really nicely. But you want to make sure that that has been seated correctly before you put on your pressure, you put the lid on. The reason for that is if that seal is not there, maybe it's in the dishwasher drying, or it's not seated correctly, then as your pressure cooker starts to pressure up, it can't. And it will never come to pressure. Okay, raise your hands at home if you have been victim of a seal that was not seated correctly. Guess what? I've even done it. Makes me so mad. So check those seals. It's a big deal. Okay, Michelle asked, she said, what do you do if you get a burn notice? Oh, the burn notices are bad news, because really the pressure cooker kind of stops functioning at that point. So you have to stop the process. You have to open it up. You have to remove all of the food from the liner and clean the bottom of the liner. Now, the burn notice can happen for a variety of reasons. We've just heard that, and I don't remember who just said it. Oh, Robin. If you're not using a tried and true recipe, it's possible to get the burn notice because you don't have enough thin liquid. You could get the burn notice because sometimes Instant Pot recipes, there's a layering that you put ingredients in and you don't stir. The reason for that is you need that thin liquid to boil to create steam, so it will pressure up. So if you're doing like an Alfredo sauce or a spaghetti sauce, and you're using like tomato paste and tomato sauce, and you've got carrots in there, and you've got onions in there, and garlic in there, and maybe you've got celery in there, you don't have enough thin liquid to pressure that up, and it will come to a burn notice because there's not enough thin liquid. So what is thin liquid? Thin liquid is water, it's broth of all varieties, so vegetable broth, beef broth, chicken broth, bone broth. You need that thin liquid to boil. So sometimes you'll have a recipe where you're going to layer. You might layer by starting with some vegetables in the bottom. Maybe it's like carrots or maybe it's potatoes, because those are big, right? And then maybe you're putting some chicken or some other protein on top, and then maybe some thick sauce. But then you're gonna add some broth or some water, and you're gonna end up pouring it around the edges. And so you've got all of that bulk in the middle, and you've got all of that thin liquid around the edges, which are gonna come to a boil. So it does make a difference when you layer. Irene says, thank you. I love simple. Sigrid says, me too. Robin says, I forget that part of checking that seal. That's a big deal. Linda says, I made your chicken carbonara this week. It was delicious. Oh, Linda, thank you. Will you do me a favor? Will you hop back on over to that recipe and leave a comment that you made it, what you loved about it, give it a star rating. Those comments and those star ratings do wonders. First of all, it helps me as a small business. And so if you do this for me or any of the other bloggers, we thank you. Also, it lets Google know that it's a valuable recipe, that it works well. So that way, when you do a Google search and you find it, Google knows, hey, this was a good recipe. I'm gonna bump it up so that other people can find it too. So when you take just 60 seconds out of your day to hop back over there and leave a quick note, just know that my heart smiles so big. So thank you if you would do that. All right, now this just pressured up. I don't know if you could hear that, but the little pin popped up and it is now starting the pressure cooking process. We notice on the front panel that it still reads on. This will take just a moment or two, like 60 seconds-ish, I don't know. and then it will read 3 minutes. Then it will count down in numbers, 3, 2, 1, 0, before it beeps at us. At that point, it will go into the natural pressure release like we talked about earlier. Hey Phyllis, how are you? Mary is commenting, beer can be a thin liquid too. Yes, beer can be a thin liquid. Soda pop can be a thin liquid. I guess you could even use like electrolytes, but I don't know that I've ever used a recipe and used electrolytes. But it's a thin liquid. Those are all great things. Okay, we're gonna let this do its thing. I'm gonna clean up some of my stuff going on over here. And we're gonna grate some cheese. Now, at the grocery store, you can purchase pre-grated, like the already grated cheese. But let me tell you something. The cheese that's already grated has been coated in flour, like a flour compound of such. They do that so that the cheese doesn't clump all up in the bags. It's a marketing technique. But that flour that's all over the cheese makes it very, very difficult for the cheese to melt smoothly. So when you're doing recipes and you use the pre-grated cheese and you wonder, wow, why isn't this grating or melting as well as it should? It's likely because it's been pre-grated. So whenever you're cooking and you want it to melt, don't use the pre-grated cheese. Grate it yourself so that you get that nice, beautiful, even melting. Okay, we're gonna move that off, and I'm just gonna grate cheese while we're chatting. I don't see, let me check again. I'm not seeing Amy on today. Uh-oh. We're in trouble, you guys. Do you know what just happened? Does anyone know what just happened? We're in trouble. Kathy says, you spoiled me on cheese. I only like grated cheese thanks to you. Okay, does anyone know what just happened? This just happened. So guess what? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So, Michelle says unplug, power went out, power. Oh, Lisa, that's right. Amy is helping her mom move. All right, well, let's just still welcome the Instant Pot 101 for Beginners group. So the Instant Pot 101 for Beginners is a wonderful group. This group I've been a part of, gosh, for years and years and years, probably since 2018. And it is full of bloggers who make tried and true recipes. The admin team, the moderators are phenomenal individuals who take time and answer questions and help so many people. And so if you're hopping over from the Instant Pot 101 for Beginners group, welcome. I'm Rebecca from devourdinner.com, and I like to focus on easy to make recipes for busy families using common ingredients. And here today, we're doing a Facebook Live with the Instant Pot. And as much as I don't like things to go wrong, I really do like things to go wrong because I'm able to help you at home navigate through when things happen, right? So, as you can see, the pressure cooker has now turned itself off. And why is that? Robin says, this is real life in action. It is real life in action. Lisa, you're welcome. Lisa's awesome. Okay, so what has happened? Well, the power cord came out when I moved it over. It happens, right? It'll happen to you at home. And guess what? It's not as easy as just saying, okay, oh, actually, it might do it, but we don't really want to. So what I just did is I pressed cancel and I just pressed pressure cook and my 3 minutes came up. Now, obviously the pressure cooker is still pressurized, right? So you immediately heard the beep. It is in the on position. The bottom element is now going to heat up again because it thinks it needs to pressure up. Momentarily, this will change and it will go back to 3 and it'll start counting down. But let's think about this, because this happened, what, 90 seconds ago? And it had already pressured up. So really, after another 90 seconds, that would be our 3-minute cook cycle, correct? Is everybody following my math, my logic here? So whenever something like this happens, you need to start thinking, all right, what are the ingredients inside? How long do those ingredients need to cook? Now we've sauteed the onions. The carrots are little matchstick carrots. Those cook super fast. But we do need the broccoli to cook and kind of break down, right? So it's cooking right now. It's under pressure. It's in a natural pressure release state, sort of, but it's under pressure and it's still cooking. There's no raw ingredients or no raw protein in here that has to reach a certain temperature. But I guarantee you, everything in that pot was brought up to a boil and it's just sitting there and it's just doing its process. So we're gonna let it sit for another minute and then I'm gonna release the pressure. You guys crack me up. Kathy says swap it out. You could swap it out. But in this case, with these ingredients, I'm not, for the reasons I just specified, because everything in it is going to cook so fast. Does that make sense? Now remember, after the cooking process is complete, we want a 5-minute natural pressure release. And while it's in natural pressure release, it is still cooking. So at this point, we're just watching the clock on our watch. Sound good? But that's what you would do. And I'm gonna grate some cheese in the process. Hey, Rose. Rose says, I never move my Instant Pot after I set it. Makes me nervous that something like this will happen. Yeah, I've had it happen. This happened a couple of times live. Typically, it's happened before it's pressured up. So it hasn't really changed much of anything. But in this case, we're just gonna improvise, right? Now, I want about 2 cups of grated cheese. And in this recipe, you can kind of measure with love. When it comes down to it, I like to see the consistency. I like to see the color to decide where we're at. Kathy said, Sigrid, I actually have a 3-quart, a 6-quart, and an 8-quart. I don't have a 3-quart. I thought about getting a 3-quart years ago, and then I didn't. I actually have, I think I only have 3 6-quarts at this point. I used to have 4. I gave one to one of my children when they moved out. And as all of the kids have left, we don't use as many of them as often here in the house. Oh, Peggy, that's a great question. Okay, so the question is, the knob on top of my lid fell off and doesn't sit tight anymore. Can it or should it be replaced? Does anybody know that answer? Because I've got an answer for you, but I want to hear what you say, what you guys think at home. So if I'm understanding correctly, and I don't know if you can see, it's that little knob at the top that fell off. Should it be replaced? Kathy says, I love my 3-quart for rice and baked potatoes. That would be really good for rice. Perfect little size. Rose said it should be loose. Anyone else want to chime in? I'm gonna wait. We're gonna see. Does anyone else want to chime in on that? I know there's a delay in what I say, but by the time it gets to you, and so then by the time you answer and get it back to me, it feels like a long time. Mary says, I thought it would sit on loosely. Just pop it on. Robin says, I think it should be replaced, although I don't know why. Okay, so we're having some mixed. So if we're indeed talking about this little knob with the little thing that sticks out, that comes off naturally. I can't show you right now, obviously, because we're under a pressure, but when we open this up and everything is all said and done, I'm going to show you on this lid how it pops off and how it goes back on. And I'm going to show you the wobbliness of it so that you know at home what to do. Sound good? But it's a great question. I haven't had that question in a long time. I do have one of my pressure cookers is more wobbly than others. Does that make sense? Like I have one that if I turn it upside down, it just automatically falls off. It doesn't hold in place. Still works. So yeah. All right, let's see here. We have now been, let's give it 1 more minute and then I'm gonna release the pressure. Dun, 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 dun. All right, if you guys haven't given this video a thumbs up or a heart, will you please do that right now? Do you guys hear that beep? I'll tell you. Please give me a heart. Please give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. If you have shared this into a group, I sure appreciate it. It is so helpful when you share it with others. Let them know we're doing a live. We're here. I'm here to help you at home. So I hope you're taking notes or you're following right along with me because that's important. All right, that beep that we just heard, it finally decided that it really was going to start cooking again. Obviously, it wouldn't matter too much if we let it run that whole 3 minutes, but we're not going to. So here's a fun little tip for you. If I start to release the pressure while this says on the front, see how it says 3? While that says 3, it's in a cooking state again. It took that last 5 minutes to run through the process to finally say, oh, maybe I am still cooking. It took 5 whole minutes, right? So if I release the pressure with this going on, it will continue to heat the bottom and this will run forever. So you have to turn your machine off at this point, all right? You can do that by unplugging it. You can do it by pressing cancel and turning it off. All right, then make sure your pressure cooker is away from any of the low-hanging lights or your cabinets. Your cabinets will get ruined over time with the consistent pressure being released by it because all that steam will flood on the fronts of your cabinets and could discolor them, could warp them over time. Doesn't happen after once, but over time. So we're just gonna set this off and I'm gonna open this up. Now, remember this is soup. So as soup, there's a lot of liquid inside. If this starts spitting out soup, close it. It's that simple. That's called an intermittent pressure release. Allow things to settle back down before you open it up again. Super simple. All right, when we open that up, I'm going to use some half and half along with some cheese. We're gonna get that all melted in. And then I'm gonna thicken it up with a little bit of cornstarch. So we can mix that up. I've got a couple of tablespoons of water. We're just gonna mix this up. Now you don't have to add the cornstarch. I just like a thicker soup base. And cornstarch works really well to thicken that up. And then you gotta have like a bread bowl or a nice big Parker House roll to dip into your soup, right? Who else is a dipper? I could dip everything and be happy my entire life. I'm a dipper. So I made sourdough. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So I baked this morning and I'm just gonna cut a slice of sourdough because I think that will be just wonderful with the soup. There we go. All right, let's see here. I like to do, because I'm a dipper, I like to slice my bread and then slice it in little pieces. Let's go top down. There we go. There we go. So we'll get that ready. Put that right there. You guys make sourdough? Do you love sourdough? I actually went and did a class. Kid you not. I went and did a class with Charity Lighton down in Salt Lake City. Loved it. Shout out to Charity Lighton. She believes that sourdough is a true labor of love and taught me so many tips and tricks that I came home and I've just been doing all kinds of sourdough and I love it. I just love it. Let's see here. Robin says, oh my gosh, I tasted my dairy-free version and it's fantastic. All right, listen, Robin, please leave a comment back on the recipe and rate the recipe and put in what you substituted for others. Okay, I want to know. Kathy's asking if I proofed the sourdough using the Instant Pot. The answer is no. I mixed that up late last night before I went to bed. It then sat all night long. I got up this morning and then I rolled and shaped it and put it in the Dutch oven. It sat again for its second rise and then I baked it. So it's a long process. It's not hard, it's just a long process. And I usually do it at night. Sometimes I'll do it in the morning so that I can have hot, fresh sourdough for dinner. But I knew I wanted this today, so I did it last night. So Robin is asking, if it is a true sourdough without yeast, is it gluten-free? So this is a true sourdough. It does not have yeast. I use a sourdough starter, which is just water and flour. That's all it is. You could use a gluten-free flour, but this is not. Okay. This has now released. So we're going to open this up. Oh, it smells so good. So good. We're going to bring this in. Actually. All right, you guys know this little thing goes in the handle so that your lid stays there. It's so all the condensation from the inside can drip down. And it's super helpful that way. But I'm going to move this to get it out of the way, because it's just more handy that way. And then we're gonna go top down so you can see what I've got going on here. Okay, there's my soup. It looks beautiful. We are gonna add into it. Add in first your cheese. Why add the cheese first? Well, if I add in my heavy cream or my half and half, that is going to cool off everything inside of the Instant Pot, which is going to make it harder for the cheese to melt. So add your cheese first. Get that tucked down in so that the hot broth can melt that cheese. Now, my little cheese grater is kind of wimpy and small over here, and I want some more cheese. So we're just going to grate this up. I'm going to add more into it. And then I'm going to add the half and half. And I actually want to, let's see here, cancel. We want to saute. We want to turn that bottom heating element back on. The reason being, we want to thicken this soup up. I want a big hearty soup. And the only way to thicken it up is by adding in some of this cornstarch slurry. My cheese is starting to melt. Look at that. Now I'm going to add half and half. I added about a cup and a half today. Recipe calls for 2 cups. I did about a cup and a half. Okay, now that bottom element is going to come and heat everything back up. So we've added cold cheese, we've added cold half and half. So it's gonna take a minute to heat up. Once it starts heating up, I'm gonna add in the cornstarch. And I probably am gonna need more cornstarch. So let's just add some more to this. Because I want this thick. So we'll just mix this mixture. Robin says, I always have starter saved in the refrigerator for sourdough. I even taught my son. I have a son who does sourdough as well, and he's magnificent at it. Sourdough can be done by anybody. Okay, I can hear it boiling. Finn can smell it. He's ready to have some. There we go. Oh, it smells so good. I just want a bite. All right. We're going to add the cornstarch slurry in. So it's important to make sure that it is an actual slurry, that you have mixed it together. If you let the slurry sit, you will notice that on the bottom it becomes like thick and hard. Everything kind of settles. So make sure before you pour it in that you go through and make sure that it's not thick and hard. And then we're just going to pour it in. You notice when I'm pouring it in, I'm also stirring, because I don't want it to just go right to the bottom and like thicken up, or I want it to disperse and go all throughout. As we stir, all of that broccoli gets broken up. Can you see it all the way through here now? You can see the carrots, the orange carrots, but you can also see we've got the big ham chunks, and the broccoli is pretty broken down. So that's why I really like with this recipe, you can add as much broccoli as you want because it just breaks down in the cooking process. It's not going to stay a chunk. Finn, you're okay. You guys hear Finn? We're almost done, and look, it's thickening up. So I'm just stirring the bottom. Can you guys tell that it's thickening up? Jane is asking, does cornstarch go bad? You know what? I don't know the answer. I use cornstarch too quickly to know, but I wonder if there's an expiration date on the container anywhere. Oh, on the bottom. Sure enough. So there is an expiration on the bottom of the container. So it apparently has a best by date. Oh, this is so good. I think we got a nice consistency going on here. We're just gonna let that heat for just another minute. Finn wants some food. He's standing over there. We kind of block him out of the studio while I'm doing lives so that he's not under my feet. Because in the kitchen, if you have animals, they like to come around your feet and pick up anything that you might have dropped. And he's always anxious about coming over. All right, while we're still heating this up and thickening this up, let's talk about next week. How many of you, I want to see some hearts, some love here. How many of you are following me on Instagram and watching my 31-day walking challenge? You guys watching that? If not, hop on over to Instagram. I have done a reel every single day for the month of January showing my walking journeys. My goal was to walk 1 mile a day for 31 days for a total of 31 miles. It's kind of fun. And so I've been going all over town and all over the area doing different things like walking at the mall, walking at the park, at the schools, walking on my neighborhood, walking on my treadmill. It's just been so fun. Well, yesterday I put a little hint secret about something that's going on. Did you guys catch that? I also put it in my newsletter. You guys reading the newsletter? That's what I want to know. Jane says, I've been watching. Trelva says, it's fun and encouraging to watch. Oh, I'm so glad, Trelva. I hope it's not only encouraging, but it helps others get out there and walk too. So if you read my newsletter, then you know. If you saw yesterday's reel, then you know. If you haven't done either of those two things, then you don't know. So I'm going to tell you. You guys ready? All right, let's clean all this up. We're going to turn this off. We're going to move this out of the way, and we're going to dish this up. Sounds like a good idea. Next week, I will not be live because let's talk about it. Can you guys see it bubble? Here we go. Look at this. Is that beautiful? Oh, I'm so excited. Now this is too hot to eat just yet. But we're gonna move this out of the way. We're gonna bring this into place. We're gonna grab a little bit of contrast here so that this just shows right up nicely. And there we go. All right, we're gonna let that do its thing for a moment. Okay, I'm not gonna be live next week. I'm having surgery. It's true. I'm having surgery. Irene says, I see you're having surgery with a question mark. I am. Oh, good. Some of you saw it. Yes, I'm doing surgery next week. I'm actually having shoulder surgery. This has all happened super fast. I only found out on Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Thursday. That I'm having surgery, and I'm having it this week. So I'm gonna be kind of out of commission. We're gonna see how well I can do Facebook Lives when my arm's gonna be in a sling. So stay tuned because it could be entertaining. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going in for shoulder surgery. We'll post about it. We'll post on Facebook. We'll post a picture of me after I've come out of surgery so you guys can know I'm okay, everything's fine. So yeah, I won't be live next week, but I plan on being live the following week. I'm planning on it. So mark your calendars. Just know I won't be here next week, but the following week. I want to try this. Oh, look at that. This bowl is really hot. I know what I'm going to do. Okay, this is why I like cutting the bread like this, because I pull it apart in half and then I dip it. Okay, now a sign of a good soup. Look at how the soup just holds on to the bread. You see that? Like, it's just beautiful. Oh, that's good. That is so good. This is excellent. Truly excellent. So good. Sigrid said looks so creamy and delicious. That is really good. Okay, this soup, once it cools, store it in your refrigerator. And then you can reheat it on the stove, in the microwave, so that you can enjoy it. It is a wonderful, wonderful soup recipe. I don't think I dropped a link for a while. My bad. You guys didn't ask for it. There you go. Also, I want to give you guys, here's a link to like all the soup recipes on my website. So you can just go to one place. Because that's a big deal too. And then you can get that. Okay, one last question that I saw on my shoulder rotator cuff. I'm doing labrum, rotator cuff. I've got bursitis, and I've got the AC joint has to be redone. So kind of a lot going on, but it'll be okay. You'll be fine. So that's what's happening. All right, everybody. We're done. Here we go. It's beautiful. Make the soup. When you make a recipe, please hop back over to Devour Dinner. Leave a comment, leave a star rating. It makes a world of difference. I so appreciate it as a small business owner if you can do that for me. And again, big shout out to the Instant Pot 101 for Beginners group. We sure appreciate them and all that they're doing to help teach how to use an Instant Pot, how to answer those questions. Oh, that reminds me. Let's go back to that question. Okay, so here is, let's go top down. I want you to see this. There we go. Here's the knob, right? There's the knob. The knob comes off. You see that? So there's a little gasket in here that helps hold the knob on this little thing. So this can come off. You can wash this, let it dry, and then you just pop it back on. See that? So it just comes off. You can wash it, put it right back on. That simple. So wobbly is okay. Did you see how wobbly that really is? It wobbles a lot. And I have another one that wobbles like I thought it was broken from the day I got it because it just is so wobbly. So I wouldn't replace it. I would just know, be careful when you wash it that it's going to fall out and it's going to fall in your sink and go down into your garbage disposal. That's when you have a problem. So don't let it go down there. Don't get it chewed up by the garbage disposal. Make sure it doesn't fall down there. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for being here today. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Spend time with friends and family. Make this recipe. It's delicious. I'm going to go sit down, put my feet up, and enjoy a delicious bowl of soup. And I won't be here next week, but the following week, I plan to be here, so mark your calendars. All right, everybody. Have a happy Sunday. We'll see you later. Bye now.